impact us when they leave. Mrs. Deputy Mayor, thank you very much. So when we're talking about clients, 114 clients last year, are these families or each of the individual person? Is it mom, dad, and 2 children? It counts like for 4? So you saw like at one time we put like 67 meetings for 114 clients. So that's what I was wondering. So in some cases, like we only count like the clients served because all the family members, so they benefit from our service as much as children in school, our community connection, and the parents. So in those numbers, well, we have individuals that came alone. Thank you. As a municipality, like we already gave you like $5,000. So a little bit of money to help you go back to move back to Shediac. Councillor Patricia Bouchavary. It's one of the questions concerning the $5,000. So the other one, Kapakadi, Shediac, do you have a contribution from Kapakadi, like their locals? Do they give it for you for free or? Yes, I'm talking on behalf of my director, but from Kapakadi. So do they also give money or would be compared to what you're asking to the town of Shediac? So they rent the space for free. So I will. Perfect. Thank you very much. So maybe what I could mention, the difference between Kapakadi, we are in other locals, so we have to pay like a rent. And I think that's a discussion we had with Mr. our CAO, like if we were in the same building as you, to see if it would be like maybe in-kind contribution or financial contribution. It's something to discuss with your administration. So it's good for your question. Yeah. Thank you very much for the great presentation. Keep up the good work. In terms of 7, reading of correspondence, we have any? He said no correspondence for this evening. Or was it a joke? No, he's serious. Number 8, like a standing committee, no financial report for this meeting, and nor for the protection services, but we have a verbal report from the RCMP for the bicycle project. I see Marc Beliveau. In fact, we have a little bit of information because we had a discussion that we had an agreement and we had a motion saying like we would be purchasing the bicycles, and for the RCMP like received like a quote. We got a quote like from a business in the region, but those bicycles are not available anymore. So we had to go back to this store and ask him for a new price, and the bicycles are way more often. So that's the reason is it didn't start yet. It's because the bikes are $2,200 per bicycle instead of $300. So for the RCMP and our administration, so there were some discussion, and Caporal Beliveau and maybe is here to answer your questions. But the RCMP would like to pay for the cost, like equipment, like the helmets and all the equipment needed, like, and the RCMP would be paying for those costs, but the town would be purchasing two bikes. I'm trying to go with the information I have. It's really at this level. So this evening, we're not bringing a motion. We would probably go back like on June 17 to the motion, depending like how this the council received this information. If it's say like it's an avenue we could be using. Perfect. Did they summarize everything? Look, it was probably like the only thing that we wanted to have it done as soon as possible. So to be in place for the summer season, this like especially for the lobster festival. But I think there's a 2 to 3 weeks before we could get the bicycles. It was really like the timeline we had at this time. It's like he said, I was quite surprised when I called and my initial quote like wasn't available anymore. So that's where we at. It's a bicycle that will last for more than one season. Yeah, it should last for many years. So it's an investment. Maybe you replace it 5-6 years, depending. It depends how hard you're on. Do you put like your the red and blue lights or no? Question from Councillor Paul Boudreau. Yes, I do not understand like the delay, like a budget of 2 million like to build two bicycles. We did not have time. Like usually we're trying to to give you enough time to analyze the situation and then come with the decision like with the same evening. That's the reason. But we already have a motion that was presented and that would have to be adjusted. But I understand your question. Like, no, the bicycle should be November. It's just a procedure matter. Councillor Peter Boudreau. So my question is if we wait another 2 weeks, it will not have like the bicycles for the lobster festival. I don't understand why we can we take a decision this evening and make progress on that file, like, so we can have those bikes for the lobster festival. First, well, you got the information, so they have 2 minutes. So we didn't want to presume that the council all of a sudden would quadruple like their discussion without having their contribution without having a discussion. And usually the procedure is to give you like some process and have time enough to digest information and then make a decision. So it's not really complex. The cost of the bicycle is higher than expected. I think Mr. Mayor, we should not be waiting for the. I know it's more expensive, but I think like the services rendered would be worthwhile. I would be ready to make a motion like we go ahead with this file. Do we know like the exact cost of those new bikes? 2,200. 2,200 per bike. The last quote, 4,275. Like this point, that was the latest quote. I'm hoping it's still available for 2 bicycles. 4,275. Oh, for the 2 bicycles. Okay, it's like for a pair of bicycles. So we're hoping they're really on stock, like, and they could be shipped quite soon. So a motion like to give 4,275. It was from the special budget of the council, so that's why it had to go back to the council to get moved by Councillor Peter Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Harry McElroy. Questions on the motion? I know like many. Emile? Councillor Emile O'Brien, thank you. Will we be able this time like to provide them with e-bikes or accelerated speed bikes, or they're available, but now we're looking twice the cost. So I think like a regular bicycle, like the electric bikes, mounted bikes. So we know like some of our like police force are using them, but it's like $3,000, $3,800 like per bicycle, even more plus taxes. So if we put them with bicycle, we might as well go with something more modern. And don't you think I understand what you're saying? But so what the RCMP members were they look for a quote and a model. We didn't want to ask, was not a request like for a big amount. So if the council is ready to provide a little bit more for the bicycles, I'm leaving this with you. So the members, you will. So the e-bikes, would it be better for your force member to go from A to B faster? Yes, it would be a little bit more convenient, but it's like I said, we are trained to use mountain bikes, so for us it's good. If it's offered, well, maybe Councillor O'Brien might consider for next summer in 2025, or if those bicycles will last for 5 years. Originally, we're talking about 3 bicycles. Then we went back to 2. So maybe we could be looking at a e-bike for next year, because we do not have prices yet. So we have a motion on the table for 2 bicycles, 4,275, the total cost. Other questions? If not, all in favor saying aye. Against nay. It's been carried. Thank you very much. It's hard to say no, it's hard to say no to someone who has the authority of a gun.
Point of order. Going back to correspondence, I understood that we did receive correspondence from the Red Dot Group with respect to the climate change adaptation plan. Was that?
It's true.
Just wondering why that wouldn't be acknowledged and put on the record. Well, that's not really an answer, but as Judge.
No, just a second. I'm just trying.
He's looking it up as we speak.
Just trying to remember the last correspondence I received from you, Councillor Megan Rye, as well. Yeah, we received a letter actually from the Red Dot Association asking for us to the council basically to adopt the plan that they presented earlier this month. And we had in March, not this month, but earlier in spring.
Yes.
Je vais prendre la parole en français, ça sera plus facile.
I will talk in French, will be easier for me. So yes, we got a request, and Councillor McElroy also requested to go forward with. I apologize, really my mistake. I had in mind that we would come back to June 17 for this request, because on June 17 we would be able to give a motion the plan that was presented for the adaptation plan for climate change. So the letter is asking to adapt the plan as is with all the recommendations. So one thing the administration considered, it's the jurisdiction we have on this plan. There's a lot of action or a lot of action plan decision we have to and the town is really a stakeholder in this plan. But the reason we wanted to wait June 17, this motion would adopt this plan on behalf of the municipal council under the condition that as the action has to be implemented, there would still be some kind of analysis to see the impact on the town and the jurisdiction we can do to do this action, because Pointe du Chêne is an area where the province is responsible for the roads, and there are some things that are not really under the responsibility of the towns. So that's the problem we had to adopt the plan directly without asking some clarification at this level. So that's what I can say for this letter from to accept the plan directly without how could I say that what I'm looking for, without having all the specifications to do it directly. So that's the situation. I don't know if it's clear. Councillor McElroy.
I think the request is that the plan be adopted in principle, and staff could very easily adopt the plan in principle or recommend that the plan be adopted in principle and that every single item that the town will be involved with will come separately to council for approval at some point in the future. But if we wait until every single item that the town might be involved in is analyzed and budgeted and so on, we might be here a couple of years from now, still waiting for the approval in principle. So if that was my request to the mayor for the June 17th council session, that we could come back with a recommendation for adoption in principle and make it very clear that there's no commitment to any specific item identified within the plan, but that in principle we support the concept, and we'll move forward as we see fit with various recommendations as time goes on.
And the reason I didn't put it forward tonight, and it's my error, I'm completely okay with that, but it's because the letter that we received is not asking to approve the plan in principle, just to approve the plan. So it's one of the reasons we were waiting on deciding.
Okay, but maybe my clarification will be on the record and will help with the staff recommendation in June 17th. Thank you very much.
And in follow-up to our motion on last March, when the plan was presented, it was referred to staff to come back with a recommendation. If it's a recommendation to come back to approve it in principle, well, that will be part of it. And then further recommendations will arise, later on, item number 1, on number 4, number 7, et cetera, that sort of thing, kind of idea. So staff should be getting back. Parfait. Numéro 8.2.2.
Number 2.2, fire department. So do we have the report from the fire department? The typical numbers that are provided for the calls. That's for your information. There's nothing for permit reports or no, because the CAO is absent. We don't have a report. He's outside of the region right now. In terms of Plan 360 recommendations, we have 2 points. 10.1, street right-of-way of Winter Street. Plan 360, nobody from Plan 360 here? Mr. Clerk, do you want to at least give us a bit of a highlight on this one? I can try to read as I go, make sure that the terms I use are the proper ones. There's 2 questions tonight. First of all, for Winter Street, pardon me, I'm just trying to find where it's located. I did read it this afternoon. I reread it this afternoon. I know that this is related to the modifications to the intersection on Winter Street, given the work on Main Street. Staff from the commission recommends that the town council accept the recommendation on the subdivision plan. There's a part of a piece of land on Winter Street that the town had to acquire to be able to reorient the street so that the street could be redeveloped. This is to identify this new street per se. So the recommendation is to accept that change as regards Winter Street. Councillor Joël Després, do you want to read the motion? 10.1, Winter right away, that the council accept the recommendation of the Southeast Regional Services Commission regarding the location of the street identified on the Philip O'Brien subdivision plan. I so move. Moved by Councillor Joël Després, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Are there any questions on this motion? Councillor Paul Boudreau. Why is there no one from the commission here? It's very important. I don't know. I was not aware of the fact that they would not be here. We rely on their expertise. It's hard to make a decision when it might seem simple, but I'm disappointed that there's no one to represent them here. items coming. I support the motion, but I would think so. I didn't speak to them, though, on that front. We know what project it's related to. It's to realign the street. It's to have a perpendicular intersection instead of on an angle. It's the same thing that we did at on Chesley Street. So, any questions? Robert McEwen spoke about this project at a meeting we had before when we spoke about the whole Main Street. Councillor Emile O'Brien, any questions? Thank you, Your Worship. I'm looking at the plot plan from the survey. It's taking a pretty big chunk on the property on Main Street. I would assume that the property owners have been contacted. They're aware of this. Well, if we're at this stage, it's that the transactions have already taken place. Now we're on the verge of approving the new way that the street will be created. So the land has been bought and the transfers have been made. Mr. McEwen, maybe you can clarify? Yes, there's an agreement that's been made with the landowners. We brought for the council to vote to accept to purchase that plot of land. This is one step of the transfer of the piece of land as part of the same transaction. This is what's a bit different here compared to the others that we've done recently. With this one, in the same transaction, we are transfer the land to the town, and also assign right away for a road. So it's two steps in one. That's why it's a bit different this time. Thank you. Just I was looking at the survey plan. There's no signature on it. And that's why I was asking the question. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Ronald Cormier. Yeah, yes, I agree with Councillor Boudreau. If we need the staff from Plan 360, every year we vote on a pretty big, considerable budget for this. We pay for a service from them. We deserve to receive a service. Another thing, Your Worship, if you read after the recommendation, maybe we have already had it there and I've never seen it, but I'd like to highlight it this time.
This report was written in French and translated to a bilingual document where conflicts exist between the two languages. The language that report was written shall prevail. Note, ce rapport a été rédigé en français.
This report was written in French and translated as a bilingual version. Should any conflict arise between the languages, the language in which the report was written shall prevail. So that means it was written in French. It was written in French, translated in English. So the French version is correct, and the English version is legally not correct. Not legally. It's not. But it's if there were to be a difference in the terms used between English and French, the French is the language that will prevail here. It doesn't mean that the English translation is not a good one, and that the French is good. If there were to be a conflict between the two versions, the version it's a version in which it's written that shall prevail. If I had written in English, you'd see the same thing, but flipped around. You often see this legally once you translate a motion, once it goes from English to French or vice versa. But traditionally, the documents that are filed here start in French and are translated in English. It could happen. It depends on the user. It depends on the person presenting the report. They could do it in English and translate in French. But if somebody's traditionally it should be in French, but everyone has their preferred language. If they prefer to work in English, they can do as well. I know that among the staff at Plan 360, many are bilingual, but French is French in one language and English in another language. So there's one who comes from Colombia. He's not going to come here. He works on more technological aspects. He's apparently very good. It's very inclusive. So, with that having been said, we have a motion on the table. It was moved by Joël Després, Councillor Després, seconded by Jean-Claude Bertin. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. So this is called Red's Variety Subdivision. It's a similar report, but this is it's called Land for Public Purposes. It's a subdivision of a lot where, given the size of the lot, it wasn't worth giving 10% of the land to the municipality. So instead, you give an amount in compensation. This is $1,200 and 40 some odd cents. I would need a motion for this one first. Yes, I'm doing it. I'm trying to do three things at once. You want to read it? Red's Variety Subdivision. Therefore be it resolved that the Municipal Council accepts the recommendation of the Southeast Regional Services Commission that an amount of $1,254.45 be paid in lieu of land set aside for the creation of Lot 24-03 on the Red's Variety Limited Subdivision. I so move, Your Worship. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Collet-Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Murray Lloyd. Any questions on the motion? This item's come up more often. It's a more familiar. Councillor Miller O'Brien, you have a question? Thank you, Your Worship. Do you have an indication what will be built there? Access point on that will be on Greenwood. But the access will be off Greenwood? That's where they're dividing it, or am I right here? It's a lot that would be subdivided. Exactly how? Is it indicated in there in the report? That's what would make sense visually. I agree. It's zoned commercial general. I'm just curious what they're planning on putting there. But we could ask the Regional Service Commission once they're here. We could send them a message to get that info. Do you want to table the motion until then? We could table the motion if somebody wants to propose tabling it. I don't want to vote because I don't know what's going to be there, and I'll just know after the fact. So I would propose to table the motion until the next meeting. We have a motion to table the motion. Councillor Emile O'Brien, seconded by Councillor Germaine Galland. All those, but no real debate. All those in favor of tabling the motion shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. It'll come back next time. Thank you very much. Number 11, unfinished business. Nothing on the agenda. Under new business, under 12.1, this was brought forward by Councillor Peter Breau. Traffic intersection of Gerald and Alphonse. Councillor Breau. Thank you, Your Worship. As you know, it's been a long time that there's been lots of problems at school LGR with this cars going out onto Main. It will just become more and more difficult to get out. This has caused a situation where parents, instead of getting their kids at LGR school, park on Rue Alphonse and Rue Géraldine. It's not causing problems exactly, but because Alphonse Street does have sidewalks, but Géraldine Street has no sidewalks. And often there's quite a bit of cars go fast on that street. Many of our children are walking on that street. I would like to see staff identify Geraldine Street as a zone, as a school zone, and put the proper signage. It is very close to the school. I don't think it would be a problem. However, I'm willing to make 2 weeks to do the motion. It's on nearly the end of the school year, but it would be great to have it settled by September. The situation is just going to get worse. And there's people on Geraldine Street who have approached me. They're pretty concerned for the safety of the children, but also older people who walk on those streets. The cars. There's lots of cars parked there, Your Worship. I have seen it. There's like a 10 or 12 sometimes. I'd like staff to check if we can declare Geraldine Street as a school zone, and then we can put the appropriate signage. In 2 weeks, I will be making such a motion. What do you mean by zoning? It's not no more than 30 kilometers an hour. You know, the school sign, as you see in front of other schools. Thanks for that clarification. So, with that having been said, any questions? I have two. So, you're advising the motion. Councillor Cormier, Your Worship, would the solution not be to have no parking on Alphonsine? I'm not saying it's the solution, but maybe Councillor Bro's solution is a great one, but there might be other options. Maybe we can explore all options. To ask the staff, and if the option is 50 and going down 30, I'm fine with that. I'm no specialist in traffic studies, but but there might be other ways to resolve the problem as well. Maybe two tools are better than one. Councillor Murray Lloyd.
Councillor Bro, I had the frustration of changing speed limits in my jurisdiction. I think it cannot just be done by the city. I think the government will be involved, and especially the buses. So I think there has to be a little bit of work done on this to attain your efforts. I agree with you, but I just don't think it's going to be done overnight.
Well, maybe if
and I'm okay. I mean, if I can't present the motion in 2 weeks, it's fine because the school is going to be done soon.
I understand.
You want to make sure it's done by September,
Right.
Because the problem will reoccur in September.
So, but I think you should just be careful that other people will not get involved, because I got stung.
Okay, thank you. Conseiller Jean-Claude Bertin?
Je pense, Peter, la suggestion à Roland.
I think, Peter, this Roland's solution would be a good one. At 30 kilometers an hour, the police will probably not stop. 50. At 30, it's below the speed limit. Some people slow down, but if you in the day traffic, it's like they're going 40, 50, 55. If you put no parking on, that would probably stop people from parking. We could do that research. You're raising good points. Councillor Patricia Bourque-Chevary. Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with what Peter is saying, but maybe we could ask Bob to check. I can't. You mentioned the term when we were doing studies around speed and Brobridge. Aren't there federal rules we followed? Transportation, TRC, TAC. Maybe go see what we can do and what we can't do. Yes, we have to look at the situation to make sure that what is being proposed or what exists already, how it plays in terms of the TAC guidelines. We could start looking into it. I was in that neck of the woods today, and I took a look at what it's looking like now. We have some research to do at this point. There's an intersection and there's a stop signs as well. I'd just like the information to have something in place for September. I'd like to add, Councillor Bro, after your email last week, when we received it, the information was sent directly to the Robert McEwen's team, the engineering team. They have at least started to identify the issues and the problems and see what we can do at that level. When the motion comes, we'll probably have a little more information for the council members. Councillor Emile O'Brien. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick point. In terms of no parking, no parking will create problems for parents who are picking up their kids. I often walk in that part of town, and I know exactly what Peter is talking about. Not stop signs, putting no parking signs. They're there in the morning. They drop off their kids for the school bus. They're there again in the afternoon for 15, 20 minutes. They pick up their kids from the school bus. If we put no parking signs, they have to walk even further. They're just little kids, grade 1s, grade 2s. For LGR school? No, he's talking about the LGR school on Alphonse Street. Anyway. Maybe some of them are short. Maybe we could put in crossing guards. Could that be a possibility? We had a plan for more crossing guards at one point. Somebody had suggested that. It might be an answer as well. Well, there's some research to be done. Thank you. Thank you very much. Number 13, request for information from the council members. I will start with something from myself in terms of the property taxes. Many people have spoken to me about their tax bills. Nothing new there. This happens every year. As part of these discussions, some have told me that the Shediac rate, the Shediac tax rate, and Greater Moncton tax rate are similar. They're right. They are indeed similar. They're right. I did the same municipalities comparison, many municipalities in New Brunswick. I see a few differences with Greater Moncton tax rate. The budget is not comparable to ours, and the taxation rate difference in terms of similarly sized municipalities to ours. However, there's some merit to what is concerning the concerns of our residents that we might consider during our budget deliberations this fall for the next budget, while taking into account the operational investment needs of the municipality. So I hope that we will have good discussions at the time when we have the budget deliberations. Thank you. That's my 2 cents for today. A request for information, Councillor Paul Boudreau. I'm asking for an update. I don't need an answer today. The director's not here. It's just for 3 or 4 files. The National Park of Scoudouc, where are we at with that? The Anglophone School Board, the Coastal Trail for Dieppe, Moncton to Shediac. A lot of was written about that file last year, but where are we at with that? And Councillor Emile O'Brien, in terms of no parking, can we speak to the representatives of the market people on Weldon Street? It's always a challenge on Sunday morning. People park on Weldon, and there's no more signs for no parking south of Weldon. It's lots of problems for residents. I know that in previous years, the market put on cones, but they put cones, and once people are already parked, there's no point putting cones. So just to pass the message, I'd also like to advise regarding a motion for the meeting of June 17th. I'd like to propose this motion on terms of representativity of the next council in May 2026. It seems far away. I'd like to bring a motion to start a discussion on what the council might look like. It might seem far off, but we're talking about the summer and another summer, and there's a provincial directive, an election, provincial election. What will we be doing to see the composition of the council as of 2026. So there'll be something from me for the next meeting. That's it. Thank you. Now it's Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin on Casey Street, the Avenir building. You can park there for 90 minutes. They haven't put in the lines yet. They can't forget to do that. People are kind of parking the road. Thank you. Councillor Patricia Brooke-Chevalier, thank you, Your Worship. I don't know to whom my question should be sent. It's an ordinary question. We received some information from our lawyer in terms of Quai des Pèlerins. Have we received any information on it? Not as far as I know. Our CAO always says it at every meeting. I'm working close to him. He asks every week. The last thing we received last week was that the law firm was to be receiving the title search per se from the company that does the title searches, but no further details. Do they need to analyze further? We haven't had anything back yet. And in the absence of the CAO, I would imagine it will be towards the end of next week or start of next week. I just want to make sure that we continue working on it. We continue to ask. Given that it's a legal opinion, it will be a in-camera session. Until we have an in-camera session, there's nothing to announce. I just want to make sure that the file is progressing and it's not forgotten. It's taken time. We admit it's taken some time. So thank you very much. Item 14, reading of bylaws. First reading for changes to the procedural bylaw. They're written in red. They're identified in red. That's based on discussions that we had. There's a few changes. One of them was for dates of the meetings. It was still the old version, where the meetings were at 7 o'clock at night and different dates, second and fourth Monday of the month. Now it's the first and the third Monday of the month. And it's at 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock. The other change in terms of the deadline to receive information so that it can be presented to the council, it was after a motion from a council member. It was already the practice, but we're making it official. And the third change was for when members of the public can come address an item with the council. It was to stipulate what goes on there. A good part of that paragraph was the same thing as it was before. For example, it refers to the law on planning, business improvement zones. That was there before. The law on planning act. It's planning, and there's rezoning, and there's a consultation process, and there's public hearings for that that you don't cover in a regular meeting. Otherwise, it's illegal. So it's stipulated there. It mentions the length, 5 minutes, I think it's the same as before. And that's it. So, and the other one, if there was a petition, it had to be given at the same time as the deadline for all the other documents, 4 o'clock on Thursday before the meeting. It's to be able to put it on the agenda. Is that basically it, Mr. Clerk? You wrote it more than I did. One point to add in terms of the number of meetings for some months. I did do some research in terms of other municipalities. In the summer, often we've had to ask to modify the schedule to only have one meeting in December and one in June and one in March, in July. Most municipalities that I've found in their bylaws and have similar bylaws specify those months in the procedural bylaw where they say in those months the council is not obliged to have two meetings, simply one. It's basically a question of lightening the process. But you have to come back with motions to say that meeting was canceled because it's already part of the bylaw. Another question? No, that's okay. I think the mayor mentioned it, so I just only would add that. So a motion to start a debate. Councilor Boudreau, do you want to read it? No, just a question. Well, I need a motion on the table to have a question. Can you ask someone else? Councilor Joël Després? 14.1, bylaw number 24-03, procedural bylaw. That bylaw number 24-03, procedural bylaw of the Council of the Town of Shediac be read a first time by this title. Moved by Councilor Joël Després, seconded by Councilor Harry McElroy. Question. Now it's the time. Councilor Paul Boudreau. Just a question. 5.17 for the public to address the members of the council once a year. What's the reasoning? Where does that come from, Sylvain? There have been discussions at the council. I'm trying to remember. I remember that Councilor McElroy had spoken about limiting that some jurisdictions use that type of information. What we're trying to avoid is that requests be repeated and that it's not there to be new elements. This has always been in the procedural bylaw. The idea of limits is perhaps new. It's something we want to bring forth. It was something that was discussed during certain meetings of the council. I just wanted to incorporate the recommendations of the council. My worry that all files, if a group or individual makes we provide more information.
Can those individuals address people once we reacted? Let's say a file comes on the table, people are happy or not happy, we react. So can those individuals come back and ask for some clarification on what we already decided? No, it was never the case. If we look, when a document or a file is brought, the municipal council still has the right to look into it and to see how it will be tackled. But I would say it's not common. People will ask for more specification, and I know some other councillors discuss it with Mr. Mayor. So I brought a specification we cannot share with you this evening, and the fact it was on a specific subject once in a current year. The individuals can come with another subject if they have an information different that was brought. The individual can come back as long the information is different. It's what we want to prevent is with the same subject to come back over and over again with the same information. Thank you. We can certainly take this into consideration.
Councilor Harry McElroy.
Thank you. You both have provided some good clarification, because I know there was some concern in the public when they read this particular section that there would be items that they would be restricted from commenting on, one of which was the strategic plan. But it's my understanding that the strategic plan is not involved with the public hearing. It's one that's adopted by the council when the council's satisfied that it's had adequate public input and so on.
Yeah.
So that should allay those concerns of people who are concerned about the upcoming consultations with regard to the strategic plan and even ongoing discussions on a strategic plan, because it is as they say, a living document. So at any point, there can be suggestions or presentations having to do with what's contained within this strategic plan. And I just want to reiterate what the mayor said, that the restriction on where people cannot make presentations is legally bound by the fact that a public hearing has to be the venue, has to be the place where comments and submissions and presentations are made on matters having to do with the Community Planning Act and the, I guess, also the Business Improvement Act. So I just want to repeat that, but thank you for clarification, Mayor.
Yeah, and the idea is, on the part of a member of council, okay, if we have a presentation from a member of the public on a subject X, well, we've had a chance to debate that. Next meeting, do we need another presentation on the very same thing with the very same information? If there was new information, by all means, obviously. Donc, Conseiller Roland Cormier.
Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will do a build on what the two other councillors said. Thanks for the clarification, but when I read it, like what you are saying and what's being written is not the same. It's in my opinion. Will we put like other word, or so are these really the word? Because reading this, like the member of the public, they want to they can address like public during public presentation, petition, delegation. I'm okay with that, but like once in the current year. So I interpret it like a member of the public can come once to talk to the mic, but they cannot come again, like to talk about the cell. They can if they want to talk about the cell, and what the mic will listen. So by listen to this, I do not see it like this, but so what you said, I agree. But what your word, it's not the same. And since like the document were already distributed to the council, we cannot send it like, however, like we have 2 weeks, like there are some modifications. So I'm looking for. So when we listen to they could do like another request if they have additional information, so they can submit another request. So in this case, what we had, and I will find it, is to distribute it like to all the council. So what I added was simple. So they can ask to talk under public petitions. They can talk on one specific subject once during the current year. If they want to do like another request, if it's another additional complementary information for the subject, so they would be allowed to, if the information is different. I will use the example like of the mic and the cell. It's just to understand, like everybody understands, like the willingness of the council is important here, and what we will approve, like it's easy not to approve it and then change it after. That's the point I want to make. So my question, Mr. Mayor, in my opinion, it's not the right wording. And maybe what the clerk suggested might be okay. So I do not want to comment something I haven't seen yet. Is it good to accept a recommendation to change like a procedural bylaw to change it, or we let it go and we go with the second reading? Essentially, that's what it is. So it gives you like an overview. So certainly the clerk is noting your comments and question, and he doesn't have to come back with the same text or the second reading. He will say what the changes are. Wordsmithing, you were saying in English. So what are the little changes like in the text? So we'll be able like understand well. But if we agree like with the text, would be good like to have a first reading, and then we can make like the question before, or even it's only after 3 reading like it's final. So it's a living document as long as the document has. And the reason like we're bringing this to you is to get your comments. So this way we can adjust the wording as you said, like this way we're able like to do. I'm really like I agree with those modifications, but I'll let I'll give the opportunity to the administration to look at this again and bring something else for the second reading. Next, Councillor Emile O'Brien. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do not agree often with Councillor Cormier, but I agree 100% with him. So we'll take note. We'll note this. So when I saw this, I said, once during the current year, they can make another request. So it means the way it's written, like if someone from the public has a problem with some situation with the town, they on any subject talk 5 minutes once a year. What happens if there's another different situation and which is not the same as, so they have to wait like so it's a different subject. They can make as many requests as he wants. So that's what we'll try to clarify, because we want to allow a citizen like on one subject, a month and a half after on a different subject, and comes a different. No problem with that, but to come back over and over with the same subject. I understand this part, but to a different subject. So there's nothing that's. I just wanted to clarify this. Like,
must be for matters on the municipal jurisdictions and not covered by the Community Planning Act, the Business Improvement Act, or any other legislation requiring public hearings. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire exactement, ça, ces mots-là? Parce que
le Community Planning Act et le Business Improvement Act, lorsqu'il y a un sujet de ça, ben, il y a des audiences publiques, public hearings. Comme pour l'exemple qu'on connaît le mieux, c'est le rezonage. Donc, ça, c'est, en plus d'avoir 3 lectures, faut qu'il y ait faut qu'on fasse une audience publique. C'est dans le contexte de l'audience publique.
So on top of having like the 3 readings, we need a public hearing. So during the public hearing, like the council receives some information, including like the report from Plan 360 on the matter. So there is an official process, and it's separate from a regular meeting to consider those things. So since there's an official process, we cannot do it during a regular meeting. So what I understand, we're not voting on this. We would be voting on the first reading, but at the second and third reading, it should be during the next meeting. We would have, like, especially number 17. The staff will take the information, like all the comments and opinions, and adjust the text so it's be satisfying. So you can come on more than one subject, but not always on the same subject. And the time limit of 5 minutes. Some people come into presentation, they take more than 5 minutes. It's like the presentation from CAFE, it took 15, 20 minutes. So why do we have to put 5 minutes? 5 minutes for the public. It was always in the procedural bylaw. So the former version, it was not. We even not. I thought at one time was 10 minutes. No, 5 minutes. There was no modification done except for to modify, like in terms of 72 hours we will require. So there will always be like 72 hours before the meeting to present the document, to talk once. Even in the former procedural bylaw, we would ask the matter to be different from the one that was discussed the previous time, the citizen presented. It's just a matter of modifying, so to be a little bit more clear, without modifying too much. It's quite similar. It's really like a living document. We're voting for first reading, so there's no law. It's a third one that becomes really into impact. So once it's added up, we will have to have it as is. So what I tried to include, like over the last couple of weeks, like really before the summer so we would have to cancel like the summer meetings as we do, like to modify especially this aspect, but keeping in mind like all the comments that were done during the municipal councils. A lot of comments came here, and trying to incorporate like all those modifications to have a procedural bylaw that meets your expectations. Councillor Patricia Butch-Chavary, thank you. I will just add maybe after some information, like a complement of information or another subject. That's what's missing. So my comments were for regular meeting for January, March, or December. So it means so we decide, the mayor, nothing in the agenda, we cancel the meeting. Will it be announced publicly? Because when we approve it at the meeting, we cancel a meeting, it has to be announced, and the public is aware, right? And I know we cancel some meeting, but if needed, we'll know like a special meeting. Sometimes you're trying to plan your vacation, you don't want to miss any meetings, and then all of a sudden, like for example, often like the first Monday of January, usually it's a holiday. Often it's at the same time as the school are on holidays. Like they have like a two weeks holiday. Often we do not have anything. We always had like a meeting at the last Monday of the month, but the last Monday of December, either like close to Christmas, at Christmas Eve. So we always cancel it. It's just to adjust. Doing some research at Councillor Butch-Chavary, a lot of municipalities are proceeding like this because those months, December, January, often like there's only one meeting. If we look in the past, like from municipality, it was the case. March is because of the March break. And in the summer, a lot of council, like they stop. They don't have any meetings in July. So then you have one meeting usually at the end of August. So that's what it means, just to adjust. So we don't have to always commit motion to cancel meetings. So that was okay I was okay like for holidays and summer. It could be modified too. So there's nothing set in stone for now. Thanks for your question. So we can understand it better. So the first part was move a second. On this note, all in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Carried. Mr. Clerk, bylaw 24, the procedural bylaw of the municipal council of the town of Shediac, that we accept the first reading of the 24-3 by its title, moved by Paul Boudreau. Questions on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you. Motions and resolutions of 15.1 workspace for the cafe. He said my screen was too slow. So it's following like the discussion between the cafe and administration, and then this evening's presentation. So I would need someone to read the motion, the resolution. Mrs. Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Workspace for the cafe. Be it resolved that the municipal council accepts the recommendation of the administration of the town of Shediac to offer space to the cafe on the second floor of the municipal building. I shall move. Moved by Deputy Mayor Sylvie Colette Boudreau, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. Questions on the motion? It's following a bit of background, like we will have like some free spaces on the second floor. So we're renting like the second floor, like all of it, like there are some renovations are not finished yet, but soon. So they would be able like to use a space that is available anyway. So it could be a good partnership, like could be a friend. Like Councillor Peter Boudreau. So thanks. It was my question. Like if we had the space, so if we have additional space, no problem. We thought it was taking some space from our employees. Councillor, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two comments. Do we have a lot of space? Because I have another organization. They're looking for a place. So would it be possible to welcome some more? Because if we do for one, like so we're okay, like with the space we can offer to others. Like who should I look at? That's a good question. Let's say like for a community organization, so they would have access in a sense like we're talking maybe the Lobster Festival if they need like some space for a summer student and other community organization. So there's a room that will be there. It will be like a meeting room and it could be used for activities. So really that's what's coming up for the cafe, but I'm sure it would be beneficial to other organizations because I don't think like the cafe would be there like 5 days a week. It's really something that could be available for other organizations. So it's no, they would have an office. It's not, and there will be an activity room available, and there will be other. Bob, you can. There could be also other possibilities for space to have like some office space where people could work. Maybe not like with all the furniture to start with, but still they would get some space. I would like to, maybe with the finance director, I would like for this to be for like what is our contribution to the cafe. If it would have cost like $1,000 to rent a space somewhere else, we could do an in and out, and at the end of the year, well, 6,000, 7,000 per. So I would like for it to be accounted for as a contribution. I think that's something we do like for other organizations. And for the Chamber of Commerce, or it can be accounted for. So. It's really like the square footage, like. And it's money value. So I think and the next time, like our contribution could be more than 5,000. So that's what we are contributing. Councillor Jean Gall, when does our lease and which year? Our lease expires in 2028. 5 years, I think I have in mind. There's 5 years left. Because it was a 7-year lease we started in. So do they know in 5 years if we decide not to stay here, it's over? Like because 5 years is still a while, but I'm just wondering, like if we're talking about cafe or anyone, like yeah, if we move somewhere else, might be possible to accommodate, and maybe not. That's what I want to know. Like, if we can only offer like where we are using those local, and of course depending on the needs of the municipality. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertrand. By offering like the office, do we have? Is it the office, or or we give the money contribution of 5,000? It's already voted, so. Mrs. Deputy Mayor, if I look at the presentation they made, they're mentioning like the way like Mr. Montoya explained. Here they're talking about to follow like the confidential aspect of the client. So do they have like offices? It's not only like a playroom. So there's an office where they would have a dedicated a space where they would have access. And also, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the fact like the money plan because it's important. And I understand that we should maybe count it as square feet. Like if we give the same service to other organizations, so it's fair for everyone, in a sense. And when they come to see us in the fall for other funds, so we can adjust if it's the case. Thanks for the other questions.
Sure, sir.
On this note, all in favor saying aye. Against nay. Motion carried. Thank you.
Sylvie et conseiller Emile O'Brien.
Sylvie and Councillor Emile O'Brien. On this note, 15.2, shed, I think it was the tennis club shed. In view of the fact, like the Greater Shediac Tennis Club has been well established for several years now, and given that the Greater Shediac Tennis Club has hundreds of members, users, and visitors, and whereas the Greater Shediac Tennis Club offers numerous services, programs, and special events, including provincial tournaments, and considering that the current tennis shed at the Greater Shediac Tennis Club is outdated and in deplorable condition, and given that the Greater Shediac Tennis Club is ready and willing to work with the town to find various solutions, be it hereby resolved that the administration reach out to the representative of the Greater Shediac Tennis Club and initiate discussion to eventually bring options to town for the development of a shed. B, that the administration inform council members of the costs and details involvement in various development, the various options. C, that the various options, including associated costs, be presented to the municipal council prior to the 2025 budget deliberations. I shall move, Mr. Mayor. Moved by Councillor Emile O'Brien, seconded by Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. I think the motion is clear. Any questions? Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is it the tennis club asking, or? I think so. They've been asking it for a while, so it's not what the motion was saying. That the administration reach out, like the representative from the Greater Shediac Tennis Club. So it's mean like we have to see them if it's what they want, like on the motion. That's what I see. It's what someone wrote, like it's essentially like the result is to have discussions with the tennis club, and also essentially like to get all the details to develop like the different options and bring and have it before our budget pre-budget discussion in the fall. And if something was already, it was all discussed by the administration and the tennis club. I have no problem with this, but the only problem I have is like some council members and everyone, they have the opinion. Like we receive like letters from the citizens of Shediac. They're complaining they're paying too much taxes, and they're asking us to reduce lower the taxation level. I do not disagree. Like people want to pay less, but everyone wants additional services. Councillor O'Brien was one of he came. I got some calls. I had discussions, and people would like for us to lower like their taxes. But someone has to pay for those shed. It's not something like, it's not coming out of the blue like that. So the citizen of the town of Shediac has to pay. There's a balance. The balance is it if we do not like lower the taxes and we give to everyone, or we give less and lower taxes. There's a balance. I understand what you're saying, but we're asked, we want to do this, but I'm not against, no. But the same counselor, and he has everyone is entitled to their opinion. He wants to lower the taxes, but he wants to give things. Doesn't work this way. We cannot give everything and then lower the taxes at the same time. We have to do one or the other. So this is my comment. It's something to consider, like when we take a decision for possible investment. So it's not for today. Jean-Claude Bertin.
Un peu, j'étais sur le comité avant qui représentait le club de tennis.
I was on the committee that represented before on the tennis club. They've asked this a lot for washrooms, etc. This is a request to do a study, what it might cost, what the facilities could be. Maybe they'll do something with the arena. Could be useful to go forward to help people. The services there are not adequate. To only do a study, it doesn't mean that we're going to build a shed. It will all depend on the cost. That's why we have this request. I've worked with these people before. It's a good organization. When there are tournaments, they bring in lots of people from outside. And we should look into serving them well. Thank you, Councillor Bertin. Just to stipulate what our community life coordinator, Julie Bélanger, said last week. The work has already started. The research has already started. There's already engineering firms. Maybe Bob could correct me, who have already been approached. We'll see what's possible, and we're further along than just a study. We're assessing the situation, see what could be done. The work has already started. This is indicative of a willingness of the council to go forward for the next budget deliberation. Okay?
Councillor Murray Lloyd.
Councillor Murray Lloyd.
I agree with Councillor Cormier. I can't even get sidewalks for Shediac Cape.
That's two more down on the agenda.
The point that I'm making here is that we also have a multicultural sports complex on the horizon, which might come into effect with this. I think we should be very careful in our deliberation of this subject for money spent in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. No. Councillor O'Brien, c'est le dernier mot, puis après ça, on passe au vote, parce que quand le proposeur parle une deuxième fois.
Councillor O'Brien, it's this last word, and then we'll go with the vote. Just a comment to Councillor Cormier. Yes, I want property taxes to go down, and yes, I want a shed for the tennis club. Just to give you a little bit of a history, this tennis club, the shed, it's about 30 years old. It was at the old Shediac rink that was there for 20 years. So it's just an old shed, really. And Councillor Boudreau was there when they had their tournament. There's a carpet on the floor. Every time you walk on the floor, you feel your foot sort of dip down. And it's that carpet that's holding the floor together. Crazy. It's stuck together with crazy glue. Since my term that I've been working with that group to working towards a new shed, it's nothing new. It didn't just it's just look at it, just pick it out of the sky to find a shed. It's they've spent $30,000 for the shed. Just to clarify that, that's, as the clerk said, we're already basically doing what the motion is saying. So all those in favor shall say aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Thank you. 15.3 F-1350. It's a bylaw. Outdoor fires.
And this was a motion from Councillor McEnroy, I believe.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have some conversation with the clerk with regard to trying to get a first reading here tonight. But as he correctly pointed out, council will have to approve the proposal first to amend the bylaw before it could come then back as a first reading. So what I've done is just added on the end of the motion that's in the agenda, and I'll read it as follows. Be it resolved that municipal bylaw F-13-50, a bylaw respecting outside fires, be revised and amended by the administration of the town of Shediac so that Ward 2, Pointe-Sheen, be added to the zone covered. And further, that said amendment come before the June 17th regular meeting of council for first reading. So move.
So moved by Councillor Harry McEnroy, seconded by Councillor Emile O'Brien. On that question, if any. Councillor Paul Boudreau.
Just a couple of questions, probably in English for Harry. In regards to this bylaw, where is this proposed? And this is a good bylaw. All the campgrounds down by Pointe-Sheen and the provincial park and the, is there a modification of this bylaw that you propose in your ward, Harry? Because there's a whole lot of campgrounds where you guys are at. What do you say about that?
First of all, it's my understanding that the provincial government is not bound by municipal bylaws.
Okay.
And secondly, if I'm not mistaken, Chief isn't here, but I'm pretty sure that he has an arrangement with them.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess primarily it's municipal law does not. It's at the discretion of the province as to whether they want to abide by a municipal bylaw or not.
Okay, can I have clarification for the next reading?
Yeah,
just to be sure.
Well,
for sure, yeah.
We're going to have 3 readings.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
same as it was.
Just to be sure that the restrictions are not
Okay.
Absolutely.
that strict.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Councillor Bud. And we also have several campgrounds that are currently within the old boundaries of Shediac. So it would be similar, whatever happens there would happen in the other campgrounds, maybe with notwithstanding the provincial government campground. But anyway.
Thank you.
Fab. Okay, so c'est weird. Is that Jean-Claude? Oui.
This is weird. Is it Jean-Claude?
Good evening. Yeah, there is a private campground there also, eh?
Yep.
Across the road. So anyway, who is usually fire chief don't go for fires unless it's a big fire or whatever, So is our bylaw officer the one that's going to be supervising that area also? Is he the one that's going to be contacted if they have a problem?
I don't know.
Because
That's something that, well, he's asking the chair. So, yeah, well, I'll get to you. Monsieur Gravier?
I'll do it in French, but la question est vraiment à
The
savoir.
question, according to municipal bylaws, according to our jurisdiction, our bylaw officer does not have any right to become involved in the LDSs of LSDs of the region. This is not a shared service. It's paid by Shediac and not the 4 other former LSDs. So that means that first of all, the answer is no. In some sense, we don't have the actual jurisdiction on the territory. So if I've understood properly,
you have to change the Shediac bylaw to be able to put that one on. So we have 3 other municipalities, and we're gonna have to change everything every time if the others want to hop on, or how's that gonna work?
Not municipalities, but
But
basically
3 other areas.
the 4 DSL need to be added to that bylaw, for example, if they want to do it.
Oh,
But the request now that we have and we receive is only for Pointe du Chêne. So that's the main
Okay.
one for tonight.
okay. So, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Pat? C'est bon?
It's good.
Councilor McEnroy,
Um,
anything else?
Yes, Mayor, in my discussion, and we can get further information on this as well for the next reading, but the fire chief indicated to me that the fire services responds. And they do it basically on complaint. So if there happens to be a situation where there's a fire that's illegal and it's causing issues, someone will complain, the fire service attends immediately. So it's not dependent on the bylaw enforcement officer going out and checking and then calling the fire department. They won't wait for that. But we can get more information.
Yeah.
Sure.
Certainly. I would imagine maybe the bylaw officer, that's a total guess on my part. You know, in terms of if there was a fine to be provided, to be given out, I doubt it's the fire chief doing it. You know, but anyway, he's there to put out the fire, which is a good thing, you know, that sort of thing. So we can get clarification on how the bylaw works, who does exactly what and all that stuff. Conseillère Sylvie, Madame la maire suppléante, excuse.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Alors, ce que ça va donner, ceci, c'est...
Madam Deputy Mayor, at the start, I thought it was redundant to talk about this bylaw tonight. It does give a bit of clarification. I appreciate this. It's very important. It's for people's safety. I think that the bylaw gives, insists that people register to do a campfire at their house or their camp or what have you, so that the fire chief knows where it is. It gives them the permission. He knows that there's a hose to put it out, and it'll help a bit with this. Why are we talking about this tonight? If it's going to come out in June, now I'm starting to understand the ties. Councillor McElroy did advising the motion. This is the motion, and then there'll be the modifications to the bylaw afterwards. Okay, thank you. Councillor Roland Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. It brings me back to a question that Sylvie had. I didn't even think about this. Actually, thanks for the point you've just made there. I know that we're going to vote in this in 2 weeks, but it's a question on a technicality. Does this mean that somebody has like a camper or so, 500 or 600 residents who regularly make fires? If we pass this motion, will we be forcing them to come get a permit to make a fire? I'm asking the question. It's a good question. We can take note of this because if we're a citizen on King Street in Shediac, I presume we need a permit. That means if we're a citizen on 1st Avenue, 2nd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, we need a permit. And I would presume that if we're a citizen in the provincial park, Ocean Surf, we need a permit. I don't know this. It's a question. It's maybe you have to do it with the owner of the campground. Maybe before voting on the motion, I agree with it in principle. It's good to clarify it. If we force 600 people to go get a permit, I don't disagree. But we should at least know when we put forward the bylaw. So on the motion, this will trigger that revision to amend and adopt the bylaw. All those in favor shall say aye. Contrary-minded, nay.
Adopté.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Et numéro 15.4.
And 15.4, hiring of consultants, studies into putting Shediac Cape sidewalk installation studies. This was tabled. Councillor Desprez had asked for clarifications, and we can provide those clarifications. It's quite simple. The request that we made from the insurance company representing the town of Shediac, here's what they told us. It's the same principle as a highway usage permit. So there's an agreement that is signed between the province and the municipality. Typically, it's the responsibility of the town of Shediac. So if we were to build a sidewalk in Shediac Cape, up to the ends of Shediac Cape, any accident that would happen on those sidewalks, the liability would be municipal, based on the agreement signed between the municipality and the province.
Merci.
Thank you. Questions, Councillor Roland Cormier. Your Worship, I will perhaps say roughly the same speech as the last time. In principle, I'm not against doing a study for the sidewalk all the way to Shediac Cape. But the fundamental problem that I have, and I raised it when we did the study at Pointe du Chêne, it's not the amount, it's where will we stop. I would suggest that we vote against this motion and that we look at the budget process to allocate budgets to the LSDs that want to do development. During the municipal reform, we were told, and I was part of the committee, we were told people who want services will be paying for them. And now, we're told we don't have any budget for this. A month ago, we passed budgets. We said we're opening up Bro Bridge to Bellevue Street, which will cost some odd million. Citizens of the town of Shediac that will pay. That will pay it in the public works budget. People outside of the former limits of Shediac, people of Scoudouc are not paying, won't be paying for improving that street. We have a 7-point-something odd million project for Main Street. It's the people of Shediac who will pay for that. It's not people outside of the former limits of Shediac. We're asking, again, the people of the municipality of Shediac to pay for an amount that is not huge, but it's a question of principle here. It's not the question of the amount. At some point, there'll be $100,000 study, and we go get that out of special projects, and the people of Shediac will pay most of that $400,000, and I think it's in part for shared services. Sidewalks are not shared services. We have a budget of $700,000 to have sidewalks in Shediac. The citizens of the former town of Shediac paid those $700,000, not the citizens outside of that. So I would encourage us to vote against the motion, but that we add something in the budget for 2025, and we'll do what we have to do, and I would certainly support that as part of the budget process. Right now, if we do a study, we're not going to have sidewalks in September or October. I think that we can put this on ice. And once again, it's the citizens of Shediac who say we pay too many taxes. And we'll look at this. This is an example. It's an example for citizens of the entire municipality that we have to be responsible if there are additional services that the regions, as the region, like the region that I represent, that Scoudouc would want. I think it's the residents of our ward have to pay, not the residents of Shediac. Unfortunately, Your Worship, I will have to vote against this motion, not because I'm against doing the study. It's because we still haven't found the accounting gymnastics to put it in the right line. And I hope that the budget process for 2025 will provide us with that. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. Councillor Germain Gallon. Thank you, Your Worship. I agree with this. And I had a comment from a resident and opened my eyes. He said, wow, in Cornwall Point, in 25 years, we've been asking for sidewalks, and I still don't have my sidewalks yet at Cornwall Point. And that's in Shediac. I'm kind
for this, and my citizens still not have sidewalks. So that's my opinion. Maybe we should put that money. And somebody asked me also, he has a street there in your ward that has all les défauts. Il y a des bumps and bumps sur la rue.
It's ruined. There's bumps in the street.
That money and fix the road, maybe. C'est pas privé là. C'est pas un chemin privé là.
It's not a private road. It's a provincial road. Even if it's the province who should fix it, the province is not going to put in sidewalks. Anyway.
Point to put sidewalk.
No, pas de sidewalk. Merci.
Thank you. Conseiller.
I completely disagree with Councillor Cormier because I was on the LSD as well.
Yeah.
And in the LSD, we were clearly told that things would move forward in our region because of amalgamation. My point is very, very, very simple. I'm asking for a study. I'm not asking for sidewalks. I never said that. I am asking for a study to see if it's a feasible position. Maybe it will not be. I know one thing. I probably won't be here when they're built because it'll be a long time. But if a study is done, and in that study, possibly it's expanded to a bicycle trail, not a sidewalk. How do I know? My point is, for $25,000, I think the people of Shediac Cape deserve the right from amalgamation to see what they want. What they want, and that's all they've asked for. They haven't asked for anything else. They would like to see a study on sidewalks because they have none. And that's my only position. And I thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Prochain, Madame la Maire suppléante.
Merci, Monsieur le Maire.
Madam Deputy Mayor, thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate everything that the people are saying. I know that it's only for a study, Councillor Lloyd, but I think that we, as Councillor Cormier was saying, we should wait to find funds in the fall. We'll put it in the budget in some way or another so that to be just towards the people of the former limits of Shediac. For that reason, I will have to decide how to vote. Three more. Councillor Paul-Boudreau. You know my position on sidewalks. I'm very pleased with this initiative from the town. Last year, we discussed to have a sidewalk strategy at some point, and the strategy I have in front of me to remove favoritism and politics in a decision to develop sidewalks. We have to study this very closely with specific criteria as to where to build new sidewalks. One of the criteria I find very important is to find cost estimates in terms of construction. I can see the position of my councillor to my right. If we don't know how much it costs, we can't make a decision. That is one of the criteria. in terms of the date, when to do it, we have good points. But certainly, we have to establish criteria to remove discussions. My vision of sidewalks in town is to have a study for connectivity, the list of road dimensions, a master plan in 5-10 years to tell the public, is it in a certain point? Is it Shediac Cape? Is it on Donna? Is it on Providence? So we have to determine with staff on certain expertise needed. But to have costs for Shediac Cape, I'm not in disagreement with what was proposed, at least to establish costs for 2025. This is my position. We have to adjust this in not very long. Otherwise, all members of the council will ask for a sidewalk in their little neck of the woods. And with the expertise that we have to need a plan. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Boudreau. Mr. McEwen, I think Councillor Boudreau was speaking to, you're already doing it. I'd just like to add a small point. In our master plan for transportation in town, it includes an active transportation aspect, and sidewalks fall in that. As part of the request last year, have a better plan and a better strategy, 5-10 years on our priorities. This study will help us to establish that, even within the limits of the former town of Shediac. If we go outside, it's a special case that won't be covered in that study. Right, that study, Bob, when's that coming? When will it be filed with the council? Not before 2024. It's one of the studies that is underway for the revision of the municipal plan. There are many, a half dozen anyway. Thank you. Great. Councillor Patricia Bourque-Chevary. Thank you, Your Worship. I know that the financial director is not here. Does somebody know the budgets for each ward or the former LSDs? Will they all be spent? Sometimes in our the budgets for the former town of Shediac. The former budget for the former LSD of Shediac Cape, is it all gone? Is there other categories? I don't remember the categories of the budgetary in Shediac. If there's some money remaining for the park, well, maybe we could put it somewhere else. There's not necessarily a budget set aside for LSDs. That's one thing. But the municipal council has already asked staff to assess and come back, how would you say it, an assessment in terms of LSD, which one, each one represents, how much does it represent in terms of taxation. So this will be presented on the 17th of June. There's a presentation being prepared, and we're waiting on the CAO's return, and they'll be able to present it. It was supposed to be tonight, but because of certain circumstances, we couldn't do it. But there's no real item line, budget line it only applies to LSDs, with the exception of Pointe du Chêne. That's only for the community center. All the other things are shared service contributions for staff or community services, RCM, firemen, firefighters. There's nothing just specific to the LSDs. I would remind the comment that we got from the comment on that front. I think that we already exchanged it. What they were saying is, yes, it can be done, but it goes against the idea of fusion. We have a unique budget, not small zones for everything. That's what the province told us at some point. So at least do the exercise to establish the percentage of each of the LSDs and Shediac as well. What does it represent in terms of the municipality, in terms of taxation and revenue and expenses? Well, not really expenses, more on the revenue front. My second question here, can this study be done as of January? If we decide that we want to put it on the 2025 budgets and fit it in there like that in our budgets, as Sylvie said, does it need to be done where there's no snow? I missed the first part. A study concerning sidewalks. Can it be done during the cold season? No, that's no problem. There's no measures. It's a theoretical thing. It could be done in the winter or the summer. So the time of year doesn't really play into it. There'd be very little impact. They do analysis of regional topography. So in terms of, they do check for drainage, but generally speaking, it's not a problem. So we could decide to wait till January. That's great. Thank you. Two others. Councillor Jean-Claude Bertin. Thank you, Your Worship. Same thing as Germaine. Speaking of sidewalk, it's not very wide, but dangerous.
I understand his position, but I kind of agree with Roland. But I think we should bring it like to the budget, pre-budget discussion, and we're finding I think it puts a lot on administration, and I think we should follow the budget as possible and include it on the 2025 budget, and then the community could see where the money is distributed. This is my opinion. Thank you, Councillor Bertin. Just to note, so the study will not take money that was supposed to be spent elsewhere. It's taking money from the council special funds. If they're not spent there, the money will stay there. So that's it. That's what we're saying. Thank you. Councillor Després. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Me too. I'm not against to have some sidewalk Shediac. I don't like to say no to Mary Lloyd's request, but for the reason the comment from Councillor Cormier, I will not support this, especially the budget consultations are coming soon enough. Thank you. But I have members that has to talk twice, so I will let a member who hasn't talked yet. Councillor Emile O'Brien. I agree 100% with Murray Lloyd. It's clear in his request. He's not asking for sidewalks. He's asking for a study about sidewalks. And on the other hand, we have to show Shediac Cape is part of Shediac. And the money we're spending, the $25,000, it will give us a lot of information. So we'll know, so we can take better decisions once we have them. Just to clarify, Mary Lou is not asking for sidewalk, only for a study. Everybody's talking about sidewalks, but that I will support this request, certainly. Thank you. Councillor Paul Boudreau, just we could talk about so we're talking about the sidewalk. So it's a recreation installation. So it's public transportation. We're talking about a recreation service, not sidewalks. Sidewalks are part of it's not a road. So a cycling trail, it's a recreation installation. To my knowledge, the budget allows for any recreation infrastructures. So my definition, if it's come for installation, it's not a road. It would not be a 132 or eventually if the study said if it's a bicycle trail that will go to it's a recreation. So these are shared services. So this is my definition. So that's what I would like to come on. But I will respect the council's decision. So we'll vote. So we'll know. So what I learned during the municipal reform, the sidewalks are not a recreation installation. It's like public works. So the province defines that's what they defined during the reform. I would like to see it in writing. So that's what I understood. So, Councillor Jean-Mel Galland, second and last time, you said something, and it kind of struck me. So the plan you have, and you said they might designate like where the sidewalks, and it was only like within the former Shediac. So this plan would not consider Shediac Cape and the point. Okay, can we do it? It would be the whole town. Councillor Germaine, so for sidewalks, we can install them on the land we owned by the municipality. The municipality owns no land outside the former the Shediac boundaries, town of Shediac boundaries. So we can install like with a usage permit, but that's why the focus is there. So you need like to have a permission to build something on land you do not own. Might be something we could do or look at. Councillor Patricia Bourque-Chevalier. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're talking about a study for sidewalk installation. So we're not giving the option that might be a cycling trail. So we have the direction to see how much it would cost for a sidewalk. So from the motion we have, that's what we have. So we say it might tell us they need a bicycling trail. It will give us the price for a sidewalk. So it will not say it's better like for a cycling trail or.
Okay.
Yes, but the study is going to say it costs X amount for sidewalks. That's what it's going to say.
Not necessarily. If you give,
Monsieur McEwen, peux-tu nous préciser qu'est-ce que l'étude?
Mr. McEwen, can you specify what the study was for exactly? So the study was to define the scope and the budget for sidewalk installation from the existing boundary from the existing town to the school of Shediac Cape. So it's
what it would cost to put a sidewalk from that distance.
C'est ça. Ce n'était pas d'analyser c'est-tu une piste cyclable qui est meilleure qu'un trottoir. C'était pour...
No, it's not to analyze to see if a bicycling trail would be better than a sidewalk. Thank you. So that's what WSP said.
This has been turned around. My original request was for a study for sidewalks.
Yes.
In Shediac Cape, with the possibility that possibly there would be other venues. And it was very clear.
In lieu of a sidewalk, okay.
In view of a sidewalk. And that's what the consultants would come up with. They might say,
you would be better off doing this instead of.
That's what a consultant is.
Okay.
And this is where this has been turned around a bit because of the fact that I personally do not think the dollar value will warrant sidewalks being built in Shediac Cape. That's a personal view. But I think that with a view from a consultant that possibly another venue that would keep the citizens who joined amalgamation interested, that we're looking after them.
Yes.
That's my whole point here.
Okay.
I feel that it's all dollars and cents. Everybody's talking about the money in October, and I appreciate that. Cornwall Point, maybe the consultant should be Cornwall Point and Shediac Cape. Maybe. My point is, I think this has got a little far.
Yeah. So we have a motion that was at last meeting was tabled, coming back as a result of a question from Councillor Després on the insurance portion, which we have. The scope of work for the consultants, WSP Canada, was strictly for sidewalks. It wasn't looking at other venues or other options, right? So do I understand that right, Ms. Rigoin?
This is what our understanding of what
Was that?
you're requesting was.
If we would look at what you're saying, which is modifying that scope of work to a, can you look at a sidewalk, but also, if there's another option that would make better sense according to the consultant, could you price that as well? Kind of thing, or give us a comparison. That's would mean that this motion is not what we need to do. That would mean we would need to have the price is going to be different, likely, at least a little bit. Right? Because the price was provided as per what was requested. So would you like to have an amended motion of this along with another price? We can certainly reach out to the consultants. What would it cost to look at that as well? Maybe it's the same thing. Maybe it's $50 more. I have no idea. But we can specify that if you wish. Simple. But right now I do have a motion on the table that we need to deal with. It can either be tabled again or it could be voted on. But either ways, we need to do something with it. Conseillère Germaine Galland.
Councillor Germain, if we submit the request for a bicycle trail, would it be like a shared service, or it would be like a shared service? Yes, because the bicycle trail in the town of Shediac, they're part of the community development, and that would be considered a shared service. So if it's a shared service, it wouldn't not only be paid by the citizen. All the parties are paying. Pointe-du-Chêne will be paying part of it, and Shediac will be paying for that too. Anything in share, the same. If we build like a new sports installation, everybody will pay. It's not only like the former Shediac residents. The residents of the former town of Shediac will be all the residents. So right now I have a motion on the table. Mr. Mayor, it's been a while. We have a motion on the table. Now I'm calling the vote. So on the motion as written, I know there will be different opinions. So I will ask. Will be easier to count. For the study on the sidewalks. The study on sidewalks, all in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Against, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So the motion has been defeated. On this note, appointment to committees. So there's no appointment to committees. I will have one maybe for the next meeting. We are at the adjournment of the meeting. Moved by Councillor Germaine Galland. Thank you very much, and I wish you a great rest of the evening.